In this video, I'm basically going to talk about when your time in your life is basically eaten up. You know, your time is eaten up by somebody else. Okay. Now, in some instances, it's that the somebody else you feel a duty towards, you have to take care of. You know, this can be anything like a child, or it can be, you know, your parent or parents. And, you know, they're elderly, or a sibling that has a disability or a challenge. You know, now, that's a different story than, say, a cluster B personality like a narcissist or a histrionic, antisocial, borderline. You know, ones that will take up your time. And before you know it, your time is basically their time. Your life, when you look back, was basically dedicated to taking care of them and yourself. But where was the opposite? Was it ever true? Now, one good thing about a healthy relationship, it doesn't have to be a marriage, but let's just say it's a marriage, is that you're helpmates. Not one helping the other. It's helpmates. You're helping one another. Okay? And, you know, there's never a total 50-50 division of labor. I've never known anybody to even suggest that there could be something perfect. But yeah, to work toward it, to work toward helping one another out, that's one aspect of a healthy relationship. But with someone that is like a narcissist or any cluster B, that probably will not be the case ever. Okay, and I'm fairly certain I've mentioned this before. They're really good about finding ways to manipulate, of course, and that it makes some kind of logic. It's logical sense. Okay, when it does, but in the long run, you see that it's all about helping them. It makes sense in helping them. Again, them, not you. You know, it can be anything from helping them with their job to helping them with their, you know, like you're doing some of the home, you know, work for, you know, at home to help them because they're having to do something big at work. Okay, and what happens from there? You might not even realize it, but over time, they have more and more and more that they have to do for some job or whatever, or their company or whatever it is. And the more and more responsibilities you take on that were divided, supposedly, and you don't even, at some point, you don't even realize you're doing it. You just are doing it. And it's like as though that was your responsibility in the first place, you know? And they will keep you so exhausted, keep you so busy that you don't even realize, you know, some people do call them emotional vampires, okay? Because you're so tired, you're so busy, you're so learning all about what they need and trying to learn about your own interest. You're overwhelmed, okay? You are overwhelmed, and you don't really think all that straight as far as seeing what they're doing. Okay, now don't go into blaming yourself, you know, blaming the victim, because these are master manipulators, you know. Don't blame anybody who's done it either. They do know how to work it, and they wind up working it. And you're just like, when you finally come out of that, people call it fog, fear, obligation, guilt. When you finally do, whatever happens that allows you that chance, that opportunity, you see that they really did do that. And they really are that. And you really need to get away from that, you know, hopefully. Of course, I'm not telling anybody what to do, you know, like leave somebody because you know it can be dangerous, and you're the person who has to pay the consequences to your actions. So, you know, finding a good mental health care professional is the best kind of thing. You know, one size doesn't fit all that. But yeah, you know, if you do go no contact, you do get away from them, however, you don't have them in your life anymore, that's when you might start seeing things like when you go through some different processes and stuff, you see that they had taken up so much of your life, and you had to learn all, like I just mentioned, about all of their hobbies, all of their interests, and you didn't get to focus on your own. You weren't, even like if you went to college or something, you weren't able to focus enough on your own field of study, your own field of work, where you work, what type, as much as you feel like you should. And you start to see you could have advanced in it if you had had the time. If you weren't always doing everything for them, or thinking, even sometimes thinking for them, making decisions for them, so wrapped around them, And of course, this is something that could have started when you were a child and you didn't even know it. You were a child. You were raised into it. And then, like a lot of people say, especially if you experience something as a child, you might not know the difference. You might not even be aware of it too much. These days, there's a lot more enlightenment than there was when I was growing up. But you might not be aware that that's what you're doing. That's what you've done. Is you've fallen into being somebody else's, not their mate, their helpmate, but their helper. Okay. And one of the things, and let me get to one other point that I always think about with this is sometimes, like something that you feel like you should have known a long time ago. You should have realized, not something concerning this, but say something about your regular everyday life or your job, something, your everyday life of yours, and you should have known it years ago, but you didn't. And you stop and you realize you did not have the time. You had too much. And, other people might think it's funny. Okay, or question, why don't you know this by your age? And it's because when it really comes down to it, you know more than they. Because you've had to concentrate on your own and somebody else's. But you're still, that still has made you, what do they call it, jack of all trades, master of none. So it's time for you. That's one of the reasons people say you need to take time out. After you've ended a relationship like this, you need to take time out to figure out who you are. When I was growing up, that's all they said. And when I was young, they said that's all they would say is you have to take time out to figure out who you are. What does that mean? That was the question. These days you can find plenty of what that means. But that's could be one of them, is to find out who you are, what your interests are now, and who you are not attached to somebody else. Not who you are with them, but who you are alone. And what, like I said, your own interests. And you might be surprised of how many of your own interests were taken away from you. That the other person that you had to learn their interests, they slowly and systematically took away those interests of yours. It could be anything from like a sport, reading, craft, some kind of you're building something, out in your, that you once at one time had a shed or a little, what do you call them, a place to build things. And they systematically, slowly got you to not like those by cutting them down, saying it's not worth it, it's too costly, somehow, some way taking it away from you. Okay, and then, when you realize this and you go back and you say, okay, what were my interests? And then try them out again, Just try them out and see, do you still enjoy them? Or did that person ruin them so much? But try to forget what that person said. Try to think of it in your own terms on how you see it. What does it fulfill? How does it make you feel? Give it a shot if you want. Okay, that's enough of this video for now. If you want to subscribe to this channel, click the circle. If you want to watch another video on this channel, click one of the rectangles. Like, subscribe, comment, and share if you would. And I'll talk to you on another video. Bye.